I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We can't go on, man, forget my peace. You take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys, man, so tough, but man's keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize, right girls, let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan, if you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that, stop that, stop that.
Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Howdy. How is everybody doing today? It's Friday Vibes.
Fantastic, Mike.
Fantastic. Hot start.
Having a blast.
Hey, Roy.
Hey.
Why? What? What's the matter?
Yeah. I'm just waiting till next week, that's all. We are going to Key West.
Right. That's something you should sound happy about.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, but I got to wait to go. I got another week.
No, I relate to Roy here. If I know there's like something exciting happening up ahead, like I get really shy leading up to it. Like, man, I just want it to be next week already. Ugh.
But it's Friday. Like, you're headed into a weekend. It's not like, why are you acting like it's Monday? Like, all right, we're just a day closer. It's Friday Vibes. Yeah. Substitute is in.
Yeah, well, I got more work to do during the weekend. That's fine.
I love you so much, Roy.
You're not going to win this game, Mike.
No, Roy's never once given me an inch.
No.
As he's afraid I'm going to take a mile. Dude, just want that inch.
Give a man a rope. He wants to be a cowboy.
Key West, though. Exciting.
Jess is going, too. They're competing with Dave Williamson in some. Is it a fishing competition?
Yes, it's a fishing, lobster, and barbecue contest. Wow. Yeah, it's
all three?
Yeah. It's the
simultaneously?
No, not at the same time. It's doing the entire weekend, Friday through Sunday.
I like the idea of a competition where you have to go out on a boat and you have like a smoker on there. It's like you got to come back. Yeah. You got to catch some fish.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Some good brisket. And I need 2 lobsters.
We'll figure it out.
And Jess is doing this with you?
She is going to be a barbecue judge at the event on Sunday.
I've never judged anything before. I'm very scared, food-wise, I should say.
Except for people.
You're doing this next week?
Next weekend.
Next weekend.
College football starts next weekend.
It's like Sunday. And it's week 0. There's like 5 games, 6 games. I'll be fine.
Look out for Georgia Tech.
I'm not going to like, oh no, I have to watch football games from a bar in Key West. Oh no, that's going to be terrible.
Actually, that is like that's my sneaky week 0 spot.
I figured last year I missed week 0 because I was in Ireland at the Notre Dame Navy game. So and I was fine. I didn't really miss much. So this week I can handle a Key West trip.
FSU and Georgia Tech are kicking things off in Dublin.
Yes, they are.
That's a weird one.
It's I heard FSU traveling very heavy to that game. So there's going to be
I would travel too.
A lot of Florida State fans in Dublin next weekend.
So with Notre Dame, I understand the tie-in, but I'm struggling to find the tie-in to FSU.
This is just like an annual thing that is going to happen every year in Dublin. It's not always going to be Notre Dame. There's, I think Farmageddon is going one year. I think Wisconsin's going another year. Like, there's going to be a rotating group of teams that accept the invite to go to Dublin and have the game there. It's just I think they want to just put on this event every year in Dublin because it's such a fun event and great and good for tourism, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm a big fan of starting your season off with a neutral site game. It's why, like, one of my solutions, every bowl season, everyone throws their arms up and is frustrated with all the opt-outs and that bowl season isn't what it once was. My whole plan for bowl season is, all right, you play your season, you start your season with the bowl game the following year. That way, you don't have players opting out. You start your season off with a big neutral site party. And everyone's pushback on that is, but it's a totally different team. Have you not seen the bowl games? They're totally different teams too. So, like, Miami was starting its 3rd-string quarterback in the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl last year. That's a totally different team.
Mm-hmm.
You're not with that idea? Bowl games to start the season?
I just like that we threw in an excuse for my Miami loss to Rutgers in the first 5 minutes of the show in the Pinstripe Bowl.
It's not about that. I was just citing a recent example. But like, look, FSU.
I know. I was only half paying attention because Chris, Jeremy, and Roy were all talking.
It was
I
very
didn't say a
quick.
word.
Roy was not talking.
I was not
I
talking.
can guarantee you, Roy was not talking because I saw everybody else talking. I was locked in on Roy. Roy still not giving me an inch.
I'm excited to go to
Not
Key West
giving
with
me
Roy.
Game of inches.
Roy's gonna drink the bar clean of all of its scotch.
Yeah, you're gonna see a really happy Roy. Dave Williamson has a way to tap in and get all the inches from Roy Frazee.
No, I'm not drinking.
Hey, is Scotch?
that's
Actually
right.
not drinking.
I don't see Scotch as that's a lie. I don't see Scotch as a Key West drink.
It's not a lie, actually.
You're not gonna take a sip of alcohol weekend.
No, I'm not drinking until.
you're fasting or whatever?
Yeah.
I
Bad
think every
weekend.
drink is a Key West drink, Chris.
Yeah, I don't like.
I
if
don't
I'm in
think
a
there's
Key
any
West,
off-limits drinks in
I'm
Key
in a
West.
You need a
Key West
glass
bar.
bottle of beer,
Yes.
and I don't like that.
If I'm in the
but
Keys and someone walks in and says, "Can I get a blah 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 Scotch, please?" I'm like, "You asshole."
I usually if they have Miller Lite and it's only available on bottle, I don't like drinking from the bottle because
Give me that plastic cup.
Bar Rescue.
Give me that plastic.
I can
cup.
drink more. You let
Not
the
the
CO2
glass.
out in the glass.
Wait,
and
explain.
not-
I'm not sure I understand.
This is a life hack. I've done it several times. There's a Bar Rescue episode why Taffer explains why you want to sell draft beers because you can sell more of them because if you sell bottled beers or canned beers, your patrons get more full because the CO2 expands in your stomach.
It's the smartest I seen when I tell people in bars this because I've seen that thing with him and I'm like, you guys know, you see here when he pour it poorly, the gases are exploding.
Yeah.
If you
You'd
don't do
ra-
that in the cup, it happens in your stomach and that fills you up.
Precisely.
Really?
Well,
It's
luckily for us, Miller Lite is less filling. So
That's
yes,
true, Roy.
but still, I love Miller Lite, and I want to drink more of it, and I don't want to feel all bloaty, despite it being the greatest light beer. I still want to be able to have more of it, especially if I'm in the Keys and in vacation mode.
This
so if they
actually-
have a bottle, I pour it in.
This explains a lot because I'm a real bottled Topo Chico drinker of late. And I've noticed when I drink it out of the bottle sometimes, whoa, it is super carbonated. Sometimes it explodes in my face. But if I pour it in a glass, it's a much more mellow bubble.
Yeah. So, guys, listen to me right now. That's the tip. Pour your bottled or canned beers into a cup. If you're marathoning it, if you're pre-gaming, if you want to feel a little less bloaty, expand that CO2 inside the glass and not in your stomach, and you can drink a little bit more and be less filled. Chris Cody, I wanted to talk to you because I heard some musings around the studio about car keys, and
everyone's talking about it.
We were having a back and forth, and I'm like, what do you mean you don't have your car keys in your pocket when you're driving?
Of course not. Now, I think if
Of
you're wearing
course not.
if you're wearing jeans and you're driving with your keys in your pocket, you're just doing it wrong. Like you don't. Your keys must be the like you have one key or something. If
I
you-
have one key. I hate like.
See, that's what I mean.
keys.
Most
I don't
people
like 'em.
like you look here. I have like my car key. I got 3 keys. I got a bottle opener because of course I have a bottle opener, and it's just in my pocket while I'm driving. And you're wearing jeans. It's like tight on your leg, and it's just uncomfortable.
There's no way that doesn't stab you.
Right.
The
Exactly.
bottle opener looks.
So
Sharp.
what you do is I'm leaving my house. I lock my door. My keys stay in my hand. I get in my car, and then it's like, where am I putting my keys down today? There's a lot of options here. There's cup holder. There's the little like what do we call this space below the radio? Just this little like tray area.
the coins.
There's the door. You can put it in the slot.
Yeah.
But
do you ever do what every action movie successfully did? Like if you wanted to break into a car, you just check the, the
Boom.
visor,
That's another-
and everyone keeps their keys there.
that's an outdated one.
I don't know anyone that's ever done that, but in the movies,
fobs
it always
don't
works.
fit up there. It has to be like a little key, right?
Yeah.
Right. And the one thing for sure is if you put it in your cup holder, that's where you're most likely to get out of the car and you're like, oh shit, my keys are still in the car. Because it's like got the deeper hole, so you lose sight of it.
I literally had that issue today. I put my keys in a place where I don't normally. I normally will do the cup holder or the front, or even leave them on the seat in between my legs.
Wow, that's
just
for
to
the
make
phone.
sure
That's
that
where-
I don't forget
That's
it.
where I put my phone a lot.
See, I'll put my
And then
phone.
sometimes if I hit the
Right
brake,
about-
my phone falls from in between my legs onto the floor. And
That's
all of a sudden,
the worst.
All of a
Try to
sudden,
keep it
I'm
away
like
from the
reaching
balls.
with my foot.
Yeah.
I try
If
to keep the phone
only
away.
someone could
Especially
invent
the
some
phone.
sort of small personal bag
Yeah.
that you carry with you from place to place.
Get
and
on
put
that.
your
That's good.
wallet and your keys and your phone into, so
That'd be
that
great.
the things that you look for are always inside that bag.
But what if you lose the bag?
Yeah.
You don't lose the bag.
People lose the bag.
The correct answer is in the door. That's where you put
But
the
that
keys.
was my problem today. Is I don't normally put it in the door. I put them in the door, and I had to wait for Taylor and Mike Malley to come in because I couldn't get
You
upstairs.
put it in the door, you turn off the car, and as you're pushing the door open, your finger feels the keys. So you always remember to grab them. It's just where you put the keys in the car, in the door, correct answer.
Keep them in my pocket the entire time.
Monster behavior.
It's not a monster behavior. Where are your keys right now?
In my shit. I don't have a lot of options right now.
It's not
though.
while you're driving, though. And this is where that
You actually
that
have more options.
interesting bag
Put it in your hoodie.
that Jess is talking about.
I do have a backpack.
Could be useful. But in the car, you have
purse.
other options than your pocket. So you should use those other options.
where you lose-
Where do
you're
you put
walking
your phone
around.
in your car?
And because I
cup
play
holder?
music and
Yeah.
I charge it up, so I have it like in that cup holder area.
There's some asshole right now that's like, I put my phone in my back seat because I don't want to have it near me when I'm driving. It's like, shut up, guy.
Do you guys fight over the control of like the 1A and 1B chargers in your car with your spouses? Because Lehman and I, we have 2 cords. We don't have like a Bluetooth CarPlay thing. So like the one cord controls everything, and the second cord you gotta like get in there and mess with all the system to play what you want.
I always get the cords because I'm terrible with charging my phone, and my wife, it's like nothing. She's better at nothing in the world than charging her cell phone. Like she's never below 90%. Ever. I've never seen my wife below 90% on her phone. So
That's one of the most impressive things I've
So
ever
it's
heard.
always, I get in the car, I need this. I'm at 12. Thank you.
So you purposely don't charge your phone so you have an excuse to
I'm
use
just
the
one of
charger.
those. It's like I'm like that with my gas tank. Like I don't get worried until I see like single digits. Like I can be 14%. I'm like good to go.
I take the train, so I don't have to put the phone in the back seat.
What about when you're driving to the highlight draft?
So, Jess,
This thing.
Thank you for the vine. Fireworks at the Battle Court draft yesterday. Lone representative from the cartel, clone
Fuentes
cartel
wasn't there?
contingent.
Chris?
No,
I
Fuentes
thought-
wasn't there.
Based off Fuentes' engagement in the group chat, I thought he was there.
No, I was the only person from and we have a massive front office. We have a huge group. And yet,
We were divide and conquer last night.
I
I was scouting.
was the only person there. And I got to say, it took me by surprise a little bit. I expected a few faces. We have an entire group chat, and the group chat is legion.
Mo wasn't there.
Mo wasn't there. Mochetta wasn't there. Fuentes wasn't there. Fuentes didn't know what time it was. That was his excuse. He said that he was still at work, which, I mean, that's a really long day. Now, I know the weather was bad, real bad. But so I get to the Battle Court draft, and I have to be very careful here because things happened last night that may actually result in us losing the team. We may lose the Cyclones. This may be our final season of Battle Court because I was in a heated argument with the commissioner of Battle Court.
The Roger Goodell.
The Mr. McMahon, basically. He became Mr. McMahon last night. So, look, even though Chris and I, we know ball. Battle Court is life. We live the high life. We watch so much highlight. I'll stack up our time spent watching highlight with anyone in the nation that doesn't play the game. Seriously. Like, we know what we're talking about. We know these names. We have our own scouting reports. We have an analytics department that also wasn't at the draft.
We've watched way more than Lawrence Taylor has.
Way more.
He's an owner in the league.
So,
When did that happen?
but occasionally, like, we'll talk to people that are in and around the game, and we'll get some advice. And the commissioner, who just ultimately wants to see a balanced sport, will often give his input. He's done this before, where he's tried to, and we've kind of seized on it. He's like, you guys should really take Douglas over Manu. And we're like, huh. Well, the head-to-head stats say something, and Douglas hasn't won a game all year. This would
Our
be
eyes tell us.
our eyes tell us that Manu's the way to go. And sure enough, we draft Manu, and he destroys Douglas all season long in every head-to-head matchup. We get to a final, and we feel like our decision-making there is rewarded. Last year, there were warnings as the draft happened. You don't want to go backcourt. I'm getting really in the weeds here, but trust me, I'm getting to fireworks real quick. The way that the draft broke, somebody went a little renegade. It wasn't the Renegades, but someone made a shocking draft pick, and it changed the entire draft board. We went backcourt, got a player that reports tell me was claiming he was on vacation mode entering last year, and we really struggled. So, Chris, you and I were pretty much aligned. We're not doing backcourt again. We can't be doing that to our team. Scott, the commissioner, comes up to us, tries to, because the league owns the Fireballs, who are picking number 1. Cyclones were controlling this board. We had 3 picks in the top 7. So he's talking to us, and he's like, you should take Ferranda with your second pick because you don't want to go backcourt again. I'm like, Scott, I don't want to go backcourt again. Well, no. So, we had the talk, and I'm pretty locked in on taking a front quarter with the second pick. Manu, my team captain, legacy Cyclone lifer, kicks the door down. Boss. we cannot take for round number 2.
And this is a great impression for those.
Boss, we cannot take for round number 2.
I'll take your
they
word for it.
are trying to screw us.
He's a good player.
He's a good player.
We get them in third round.
We can get them in third round because look, they're not going to go front court. So we end up getting Amiga Rena with our second draft pick, and you would have thought I would have just thrown my drink on the ground with the behavior. The reaction from the Fireball table and the commissioner was really unprofessional. And you're supposed to have 3 minutes for a draft pick. They took like 7. We really shocked them with this decision. And then guess what? Round 3, Manu was right. They didn't take Veranda. We got Veranda. So Scott, he's
the
like,
guy he was telling us to take, he passed on.
yeah. And then we ended up getting him in the 3rd round. So we did a great job.
Classic draft tactic, though.
We did a great job. So a couple picks go by. They're taking forever to draft. You could cut the tension with a knife. Like, it's getting a little awkward. Commissioner comes over to the table. My team. I have players there. Drafted players. He's like, I'm done being nice. You guys just guaranteed yourself last place again. You're going to be worse than last year. Imagine telling me, a legacy owner, a former champion in this sport, and my team of legends, that they're going to be bad?
He said that to the players?
He said that. Yeah, they all
Whoa.
heard it. They all said that. I was like, whoa, when did my commissioner become Mr. McMahon all of a
And
sudden?
the logic makes no sense. It's like, we got the guy you wanted us to take in the 2nd in the 3rd.
That was my rebuttal.
We're
I'm
a
like,
deeper team, according by your logic.
I go, Mr. Commish, this is a weird way to congratulate me on a brilliant draft. I got Ferranda as my top front quarter, just like you said. And I got him in the 3rd round. You should be congratulating me. He's like, yeah, but it's unsportsman. 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 I'm like, Mr. Commish, it is my job and my only job to make sure that the Cyclones have the best possible draft. It is not my job to restore the competitive balance of this league and make sure that the Fireballs are okay. I got screwed last year in the draft. Where was the sportsmanlike behavior then? It wasn't the Fireballs that did that. Erroneous. I don't care. Doesn't matter. So, it got really contentious. Some of this was caught on camera, and we got massive storylines, but we pissed off the commissioner. Commissioner and I ended the evening on good terms. He was fired up. Look, tensions run high during the Battle Court draft. If you guys were there, you would have loved it. Probably way more than the audience did.
Well, Chris and Mike had something really important going on.
I just had my daughter by
Thursday.
myself, and I didn't want to bring her to a bar.
Right.
Was that a bar?
Yeah.
Was that a brewery?
Yeah.
There were plenty. There were
For some
plenty of
reason, I was
kids.
picturing like you all standing on the fronton,
That's exactly what I was
just like
thinking.
arguing and just standing
The
in a
draft
circle.
used to be at the Fronton, but this was at a local brewery, and there were kids running around like that. This wasn't a workplace. Bringing your kid to a workplace, I think, is pretty unprofessional.
I
would
agree.
never do that.
People should not do that.
I would absolutely never, ever do something like that.
Or a pet.
Right.
Especially on the last day of summer vacation, right before school, after she's nagged
Especially
you.
on Cheat Your Own Friday.
Teacher on Friday, which is kind of bubbling up right now. This is a second straight show where that cilantro sauce is not only kicking in the mouth, but kicking in the stomach.
It's like we had 6 different things to choose from that all are like, this is going to make you really fat.
Yeah.
It's like,
No,
usually
it's
it's
keto
like,
friendly, dude.
Usually it's like chicharrones, and it's like, okay, we're going to have some fruit with it. It's like, no, this is chicharrones, arepas, and like empanadas.
Fried
it's
cheese,
like, oh my
the
God.
queso frito. So, like, there is a...
There's
It's
queso frito out there.
yeah, there's queso frito.
That's what I mean. It's just like every choice is like, let me have some fried
Keto
cheese.
friendly.
Let me get some pork fat. Thank you.
Keto friendly. There are healthy options. If you're like subscribed to the carnivore diet, go nuts. Chicharron Fridays for you. But yeah, feeling a little bit squirming in the seat right now. Not feeling so great. Second straight week. I was a hero last week. People have no idea the adversity I overcame last week in that co-host chair with Amin. It's popping up again.
Speaking of hero.
Yeah, that's
Wow, another great segue.
Wow.
We are on it today.
Chris. I was getting to that segue myself. All right, Tyler Herro had a photo yesterday
Beat you to the
circulate
punch.
on social media, and Jeremy Taché is here, so that means I got to talk to him about his boy. As you can see, Tyler Herro has brand new ink. Now, he's gone viral for his tattoos before, but on his very lean-looking stomach, I got to say, good stomach. He's got a Milwaukee Brewers logo, huge. That's got to be super painful. The shading in that spot, don't envy it. He's got a convertible car, and he's got 3 jerseys on his stomach. Pretty centralized. So what are the 3 jerseys I'm looking at here, Jeremy?
I believe you're looking at his high school, college, and NBA jerseys here in this photo. So you have his high school photo to our left, his right, then his Kentucky jersey in the middle, right around the belly button, and then the Heat jersey to his left side, our right side, right above that Milwaukee Brewers logo you were talking about.
So this is a bold choice because the three jerseys are equal in size, spread evenly across the entire midsection of his body. The mind wanders to a certain place. Why is Tyler Herro so sure he's going to finish his career here in Miami? Because
He could
there
keep
isn't
going. It could go around as like a full circle.
But
around
yeah,
the
but the
back.
way that he decided to start it, like I've just figured this is going to be chronological now. We have now put ourselves in a position where we're going left to right in terms of the history of Tyler Herro ball. So he's in all likelihood going to have other stops in his pro career. What I'm telling Tyler Herro and Jeremy is he should have left more room for the Phoenix Suns jersey.
Well, if you looked at our big board the other day, I can understand why you'd be, thinking about those Phoenix Suns. But what I would tell you is, hey, if you're Tyler and you've been in trade rumors every single year of your entire career and you've never been traded, I can understand why he's like, no, the Heat are going to just keep me forever. I'm going to keep playing here for the rest of my life. Why would I think that I'll be wearing another jersey? Because he's been in trade rumors every single year and he's never actually been traded.
I'm not sure about that logic. I don't know. I do want to know what's around his belly button. I realized I generally try not to judge other people's tattoos too much, but I don't like belly button related tattoos where
that's
they
fair.
use the belly button in the theme of the photo.
Is his belly button wearing a crown?
I'm not
Better
sure
than
what's
the
going
nipple
on in
tattoo.
this. The nipple also, I
nipple
don't
one's
like when
rough.
the nipple plays a role in the image of the tattoo.
Yeah, it's not the greatest resolution. I can see, by the way, it's tricep day, so that's good. But there is a crown, what appears to be a crown above the navel, and right in between the crown and the Milwaukee Brewers logo.
Is that like a Norwal walking?
It
looks like the top half of a Norwal with legs.
It looks
No?
like a chubby knight to me, like a chubby knight in King Arthur's court. This is why we need better resolution here. But all in all, huge mistake made by Tyler Herro, because where do you put the next team's jersey? Then it's going to be uneven.
Ooh,
I'm pretty sure that tattoo is a Powerpuff Girl.
Oof. If
Powerpuff Girl?
the next spot for a jersey would be the love handle. Not that he has them, but
He
that's
doesn't
just
have
that
it.
seems
Jeremy's
like
right.
that seems like a vulnerable spot.
That's a
The
Powerpuff
thing you
Girl.
thought was the narwhal is a Powerpuff Girl.
Can I see that again?
It
Is
sure
the belly
is.
button part of the tattoo?
Oh, wow, we got better resolution here. Okay.
So the crown is over the belly button, but it does not appear to be part of any
Correct.
sort of image. So that's
With-
And
good.
there's a convertible on
I
the
like
right.
that.
With the hair going down from his belly button almost looks like a rose.
Yeah. Not a big fan of the Happy Trail.
Golden Bachelorette fan?
Why the Powerpuff Girl?
I mean, there's got to be some sort of significance. Maybe his
Does there?
child. I don't know. I'm not
Maybe.
sure. He is a father.
Yeah. I'd consider like a bandit tattoo.
Honestly, the thing that I noticed more in the last couple of weeks aesthetically with Tyler is he went back to the buzz cut. He was growing out. He was growing out his hair.
That was your takeaway from this.
It was. He was growing out his hair for the last couple of years. Came into last season with the longest hair he's ever had. Now back to the basics. You're looking
And
like
do
what
we
he did
think
at
that
Kentucky.
means, Jeremy?
Yeah, Jeremy, you're good at reading into this.
Focused. No longer worried about the aesthetics. Shaving off the hair. Not worried about it. Just focused on ball. I don't know, man. What do you want from me here?
He's had like some weird behavior on social media this offseason, a little bit more passive aggressive. You mentioned that his name is always in trade rumors, and yet he always persists and stays with the Miami Heat. I can understand how that gets to a guy.
I mean, remember last year he was having lunch with Spo thinking he was going to be traded to Portland when the news broke that Dame was traded to Milwaukee, and they had to have that sort of like awkward moment together of, all right, here's what we're going to work on going into next year. And I got to imagine it wears on you every single offseason being in those rumors. Look, he played well to start the beginning of last season. Let's hope that he can have a decent start and not get hurt this time around. Mike, is there anything in American culture, pop culture, music that makes you as frustrated as Maroon 5 having a ridiculously good first album and then completely selling out and only making bubblegum pop music from there?
I love this question. Yes, I'm sure there are things in pop culture.
No,
that
it bothers me so much. It bothers me so much.
What made you
Mike.
think of this? Bad tattoos?
Okay, no. So I can tell you how he got there. Ironically, yeah, that would have been a better way to go there. What it was is that
I started singing "This Love." I
well,
think.
Chris Martin and Dakota Johnson.
This love has take. All right, go ahead.
Chris Martin and Dakota Johnson announced their split after 7 years.
Oh,
they were
that's-
dating, which is a big deal.
That's I'm just learning they were dating.
And so Chris Martin,
Hold
the
on.
lead singer of Coldplay,
Dakota Johnson.
was with Chris Martin.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
I'm just
7
learning
years.
this.
Huh?
7 years?
For 7 years, yep.
No.
Yeah.
The whole time, Daniel.
The whole time?
So they were together the last 7 years. They announced their
Wait,
split.
Madam Web?
Yes.
He stayed with her through that.
Anastasia Steele?
Well, that might have been the thing that ended it. Seemingly.
I am shocked, dude.
Do we
usually-
want to
I
take a
had
moment
no
to sort of
idea.
register that first?
I can't believe that there was a celebrity couple dating for 7 years,
you
and
didn't
I'm
know
learning about it through their breakup.
Well,
Dakota Johnson, the daughter of Don Johnson and Melanie Griffith, was dating Chris Martin, the lead singer of Coldplay.
Correct.
For 7 years.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Wild.
I
Continue.
learned
I've
about it.
registered.
I learned about the breakup through the Liza Minnelli Outlives account, which is my favorite way to get news. It just tweets out Liza Minnelli has outlived the relationship of Chris
really
Martin
are a
and
theater
Dakota
kid,
Johnson.
huh?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
So nonetheless, I said that, and Roy said, "Man, that new Maroon 5 album is going to be
Crying out loud.
terrible," or And so I said,
Would
"Well,
have
that's
surprised me if he
Coldplay."
was like, I can't wait for the new Maroon 5 album to drop.
That's Coldplay. But then we talked about Maroon 5, and I really loved Maroon 5's first album. It had Harder to Breathe, it had This Love, it had Shiver, She Will Be Loved, Sunday Morning. There were great songs.
This may surprise you. I loved that first Maroon 5 album.
Wow.
It was really good.
She will be
The High Register. That's a good. I'm a fan of pop rock.
Right.
Then they went off the rails a little bit.
That's where it went off the rails.
It went off the rails like
It's the worst.
it's bad.
That song stinks, and everything
It's
since
a banger.
then.
I like that song.
They have a
every
lot of-
song
they have a
since
lot of
then has
songs.
bothered
Sugar's
me.
fire.
They have a lot of songs. So like Maroon 5, my wife always likes to throw the fact that I wanted to go to a Maroon 5 concert in my face because she always categorizes it just like that, a Maroon 5 concert. I wanted to see Maroon 5 in Broward because the Hives were opening up for Maroon 5. That's the type of first album that Maroon 5 had.
Right.
Because today, if I tell you the Hives were
Doesn't
opening
make any
up
sense.
for Maroon 5, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So I'm a huge fan of the Hives, and I wanted to see the Hives, and I'd stick around for Maroon 5. My wife knows to needle me, and she says, remember when you wanted to see them in concert? I didn't want to see them specifically in concert.
But you could also have wanted to see them because that first album was great.
If they were playing a show, I'd watch them. I don't think I'd pay money at this point because I'm not a huge fan, unless they were touring the debut album. Oh, I'm there.
Then absolutely.
Did you guys know Moves Like Jagger is the second most downloaded song of all time?
That's a good song.
It-
That's a great pop song.
I think my beef with bands like Maroon 5 is not really their fault, I suppose. It's that, like, anytime that any one of these bands had a hit, it got so overplayed so quickly that I just associate it with, like, feeling nauseated by hearing the same earworm
It's
over
similar
and
to
over
Imagine
again.
Dragons, right? Like where their first album actually had some like cool alternative music on it, but then their songs got so overplayed and it got oversaturated, and you can only think of that breath.
Such a great impression.
Limited
Such a
Take
good
Imagine
limited
Dragons.
Wait, clear out, Chris, one more time.
Makes Me Wonder's a banger for Maroon 5. Left eyes, move on to paradise.
I think you're a Maroon 5 guy.
I love
It
Maroon
sounds
5.
like, yeah, it sounds like
And Imagine Dragons. I'm a sucker for
You're
pop,
an
man.
Imagine Dragons guy?
I mean, I don't go to these concerts, but like when they're on the radio back in the day, like I love these pop hits.
I just associate with Maroon 5 with how disappointed everyone was that they were the halftime show during the Atlanta Super Bowl.
Yeah, that
it
was
was
the worst.
so disappointing. And also, didn't Adam Levine have like a
He hasn't really bounced back from
major affair scandal?
that. Yeah, where it
He
became a
sent
meme.
those super, like, really cringy messages.
really weird.
Yeah, you didn't see that meme of him like DMing
that was Coldplay.
Mrs. Met?
Roy.
Like, oh God, that body. that body.
I remember that. Oh, man.
The Mrs. Met meme.
Has he not made a comeback from? That's like the first thing I think about.
He's been
when I
laying
think
low,
of Maroon
but
5 now.
you guys mentioned something about like how these songs were inescapable, and now I don't really listen to the radio. So the way that I can escape a song is through social media, and I don't have TikTok, so I imagine it's like 10 times worse for you guys. But for a song to be inescapable, it really has to be gigantic. Like Espresso, that song was pretty inescapable, but it was because it was being used on social media all the time. I don't really hear it. I took like a car ride from the Reno airport to Tahoe. It's the first time I've listened to pop radio in like almost a year, and I heard Espresso like twice. So I get that, but I think these days it's harder to have those sort of inescapable songs if it's not living specifically in the TikTok IG sphere.
Yeah, but I feel like on TikTok, like the songs that get really popular and overplayed aren't like real songs.
Right.
Half the time they're just like sounds that people cut out of other songs or just made
sped up
things.
versions of songs,
Yeah.
or it's just like randomly the bridge of a song that ends
From
up
20 years ago.
Yeah, that ends up becoming super popular. When I was at camp, all of the kids there were obsessed with Careless Whisper.
That's funny.
Because it's recently gone viral in a trend on TikTok. And so they all, when we were doing like a
Just the
karaoke. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we were doing like
But
a
there's, like, a
karaoke
squeaky
night. And they were
version.
losing their minds. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, for me, a song that's inescapable is like a IG Reel soundtrack. So like that, that was like for an entire summer. I couldn't avoid that song at all. But there is like a cool, like I'm glad to hear Careless Whispers going viral again, because like a couple years ago I was driving around Savannah and on a contemporary hit station they had Miguel's Sure Thing, which is an older song. I'm like, this is like a top 40 station. And they played it like twice on this car ride. I'm like, this is not a coincidence. And I Googled it. Sure Thing was charting well after its initial release because it gives these songs all new life. And now Miguel is like the Sure Thing guy. Like, he is known for that.
Can I have Jer Bear explain this whole thing about Taylor Swift and putting out a new
Yes.
song while Chapel Roan was about to have a #1 hit? Because I've seen a lot of angry people on the internet about this.
Yeah, this is really interesting because obviously #1s now don't really stem from actual record sales. They stem from streaming. And so Taylor Swift for years now, in her sort of like business ploy, has been releasing bonus singles on her website where you can go buy it. There's like a 6 to 12 hour window. You go buy this single and you're one of the only fans that can get it. It's an unbelievable money-making tactic because nobody is really selling music digitally that way, the way that you can get it on streaming. But what's kept happening is every time there's a new song that is going to potentially, either a new song or a new album that's going to potentially get to #1 on the charts, everyone seems to notice that Taylor Swift releases a new version of something. So whether it's putting out for last night, I believe it was, she put out for 6 hours a live version of one of the deeper cuts on the new album. And that's because when people start buying that and streaming that again, it boosts the numbers back up. And Chapel Roan's The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess, which is her album, was about to reach #1 in the US. It was #1 in the UK.
She's having a moment, huh?
She is having a moment. And as that was happening, everyone was making jokes like, oh, Taylor's definitely going to release something. Same way she did when 365, I don't think it's 365. I think it's Guess with Charlie XCX and Billie Eilish on the remix was rising on the charts. She released another single, another live version of something. People were making jokes. Oh, Taylor's going to release something. And what do you know? Last night, as the reports start coming out, the Chapel Roan's going to be #1. What happens? But Taylor Swift releasing another new version of the Tortured Poets Department. It's just a ploy to stay at #1.
I don't
it
like
really
this.
is not. It's not.
Well,
It's the
dirty
least
work.
It's the least likable Taylor's ever. Like I
It's
rarely
not
hear,
a likable
I
thing.
rarely hear a
like
news
this either.
story where I'm like, Taylor's
say
unlikable here, and that's
No, it's really surprising, and it's weird that because the internet already kind of started talking about it leading in to the Charlie XCX Billie Eilish one, there were already jokes being made, and then she did it there. You would think that whoever on her PR staff, where they're normally always making the right move, would have seen that internet fodder and said, hey, maybe we don't do it this time. Maybe we let Chapel go there. Hey, maybe we even praise Chapel Roan and how great she is when she becomes #1. And instead, it seems a little overly competitive and not wanting to let go of the rope.
you can be second, you can be third, hell, you can be fifth.
Taylor usually was pretty good about like rising tide lifts all boats. Like
I do think
like
there's a
her
little
friendship
bit
with
right
Selena
now.
Gomez and stuff like that. Like
I think there's a
contemporary artists.
generational divide a little bit right now because you just mentioned Espresso, right? Espresso was a gigantic
She
song.
got big because Sabrina got big because she was
She
open
opened for Taylor Swift.
yeah.
And Chapel Roan has risen over the last 6 months or so, and that she opened for Olivia Rodrigo.
I like Olivia Rodrigo
and
a
Taylor
lot.
Swift have had their own sort of issues where Olivia Rodrigo was such a huge Taylor Swift fan, but then Taylor Swift and Jack Antonoff ended up getting writing credits on a few of the songs on her first album because they sounded too much like Taylor Swift songs. And so they sort of haven't been as publicly supportive of each other. It's a really interesting dynamic as you see, Katy Perry flop with her music and Taylor Swift still really being the only one consistently releasing music of the women at that age who were pop stars at that time. Now with this next generation and Olivia Rodrigo, Chapel Roan, Sabrina Carpenter working with Jack Antonoff on her album, like there's some interesting competitiveness
there goes
going
that.
on here. It's going to be interesting. I don't know. That one really, really surprised
Stop
me.
working with Jack Antonoff.
Oh, he's good, man.
No, he's not.
I do
good
love
music.
me espresso.
I do.
In fact, I'm going to go get another one right now because I only had one this morning and I could use another one.
Hey, while you're out there, why don't you open up the Game Time app? Maybe you want to see Chapel Roan. You want to see some of these acts out there touring in the summer. Have you seen what Adele's been doing? She's like just built an entire structure out there. If she ever brings that to the States, guess where I'm going to go? I'm going to go to the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account. If you haven't done so, use the code Dan and you get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Great customer service. You could see what your seat view would be from that perspective. See, great interface. I love Game Time, and I thank them for their support. Coming up a little bit later in the show, Tony Khan is going to be joining us today on a really exciting day for him because Fulham kicks off the Premier League season at Old Trafford. Manchester United, they won there last year, I think, for the first time in 20 years. He's a man that wears many hats. I'm going to ask him I'm going to ask him to put on a different hat for every question that I'm going to ask him because I'm going to ask him about the Jags, the NFL, Fulham, Premier League, and all sorts of stuff for AEW, so stick around. I do want to give you some soccer takes here. Briefly, I've embargoed my own soccer takes on social
you
media.
didn't. No,
I did.
You gave us one on the show last week, and then we referenced it yesterday.
What, the Pochettino take?
You said career loser.
Yes, and
So
I
that
have.
was not embargoed.
No. But a lot of people were coming to me because it's the first time ever in my life that I got recognized for a take, as opposed to like, hey, I know you. Yeah, from the Le Batard Show. No, that's not it. Berhalter guy. So. Proud that in my career I have like this soccer voice and people come to me for U.S. men's national team takes. Here's my take on Pochettino because I've gone on the record. On the club side, career loser, not a huge fan. I will credit him, made it to a Champions League final with Tottenham. That's really impressive. It's not winning it, right? He found a way to not win trophies at PSG when the entire league is rigged for PSG to win trophies. He wasn't very impressive there. I'm not a huge fan of his style. But look, I'm a Chelsea fan. He was at Chelsea all season long. He survived. There were plenty of times that I wanted him gone as a Chelsea supporter. By the end of the season, he had that team turn the corner, and people were sad to see him go. I was not in that camp that was sad to see him go, but people were. I will say, though, all that being said, wearing my bias on my sleeve, I'm not the biggest Pochettino guy. I wanted the U.S. men's national team to swing for the fences for a hire. This is a really splashy hire, a really big name. In the international ranks, this is a top-tier name. And I kind of like it for the U.S. men's national team. I'd like it for the U.S. men's national team because I like the message that it sends. They did the thing that they needed to do on the women's national team side, another Chelsea product, got Emma Hayes. She had plenty of success. Now, Pochettino is not Emma Hayes at all when it comes to success, but he has developed talents. If you look at Cole Palmer's season at Chelsea last year, you can credit Pochettino for what he did with Cole Palmer over there. And I think the parts of his tactics that bothered me so much on the club side, that is mitigated some by just CONCACAF and international soccer. It's a different style. Poch has played against the U.S. men's national team when the U.S. men's national team was cooking a little bit more, so I think he's familiar with the identity that I want the U.S. national team to have, which is more of a counter-attacking style. That being said, this is a tremendous upgrade over Greg Berhalter. This is an immense upgrade over Greg Berhalter. And I say that as an out-and-out, not a Pochettino guy. Not a Pochettino guy, but I'm happy that they made a big, ambitious hire. I think this is a big, impressive name. I do think if this is his central focus, this might actually play to some of his strengths. So I like the hire. I like the message that it sends. And if we're just going from what he presents from the last guy and the last regime, this is a huge upgrade over Greg Berhalter. So credit to the U.S. men's national team program for making a really impressive hire on that front.
Seems like you're playing both sides.
I am playing both sides a little bit, but look, if Spain made the hire, straight up, I'd be dragging them because they play at a certain level. Their expectations are at a certain place. For the U.S. men's national team, this is as impressive of a name outside of Klopp that you could find right there. He had a good season at Chelsea, all things considered. So, and he won over a really difficult fan base to win over to the point that many people actually didn't want to see him go. They had changed their mind on him. I was pretty staunchly in the camp that, thank you for your service, we did the Pochettino thing. I don't think he is a certified winner. All it takes is winning one, and he can shut me up. Win here at the grandest level. That's not the expectations here for the United States men's national team, by the way. It's just be really competitive in this World Cup, give American soccer fans a reason to be excited, and have faith in the manager. And on the international level, this is a totally different story than on the club side. On the club side, when he's getting into these big cup competitions or at the very upper echelon of league play, I look at that touchline and I have more faith in the other manager. International game, not the case. Not the case at all. Pochettino comes in there with a reputation and a tactical edge in most cases. So this is a good hire for the U.S. men's national team.
Does he have international experience, or has he only done club level stuff?
As a manager, no. As to the best of my knowledge, he's been on the club side. Now he's certainly got experience from his playing career and whatnot, and I think he's well aware. I like the fact that we don't have an American doing this because Americans have kind of gotten away from what brought them to the dance. You would think that people within the program would know the scrappy American style. And I think now it's gotten to the point where people from the outside probably know this side's strengths a little bit better than people on the inside. So I'm happy to have this voice. And I'm really happy that they made an impressive hire because I'm probably the lone dissenting voice in criticizing anything about Pochettino because it is a time for excitement. If you're a U.S. soccer fan, do not let me rain on your parade just because I've had several years long of accurate takes when it comes to Pochettino. All in all, this is a good hire for them. Have you guys seen the trailer for the Aaron Hernandez show?
I have.
So Dominique promoted it. So I never wanted to put Dominique's business out there, but I'd known that Dominique had been working on this show for quite some time. And I was, without Dominique's inclusion into this project, I would have been interested in this Aaron Hernandez show, even though I'm not a big Ryan Murphy guy. But I've seen these real, what do they call them? Real crime stories, American crime stories?
Yeah, this one will be American Sports Story.
Okay,
They've done American Crime Story. They've done American Horror Story. This is American Sports Story.
It's in this. It gives off the vibes of the OJ show, though. When you're looking
right,
at
it's
Ryan
the same.
Murphy.
It's the same producers and it's the same concept, except in this case, I think the OJ one was just about the trial, where this is going to include sports. Like Patrick Schwarzenegger is playing Tim Tebow in this production.
That's actually good casting.
Yeah, there's real football happening, and so in turn, I guess that's why it's American Sports Story.
The crazy thing to me is that you see a bunch of Patriot stuff in this. So does that mean the NFL gives that permission?
No.
Is it the Patriots, or they can just do it?
So remember, Ballers was really the first show to be like, we don't care what you say. We're gonna use these logos.
Oh, I thought they had permission too.
No, they didn't. Like it was like a whole thing, but you can do the unauthorized thing, and I'm sure the NFL would not have wanted these logos all out there. The University
of Florida
Gators,
like, oh man,
yeah, certainly not wanting that stuff out there. But I'm in on this because it's a crazy real life story, and you add Dominique's involvement, and I'm certainly in on it. And don't take like my Ryan Murphy takes like all that seriously because I was just a fan of Nip Tuck and that show just went totally sideways on me. My wife loves Ryan Murphy show. She loves the American Horror Stories, and I watched the entire OJ thing, and this looks really good from the preview. And thank God they got the licensing. It just would have been so whack Well, I don't even know if they got the licensing, but thank God they decided to get the actual logo because it would have been real tough looking.
What would they have called the Patriots if they had to like get something like the Generals?
The Minutemen.
Yeah.
They would have probably just referred to them by location. Right?
Boston Minutemen.
The Boston football team. Because, I mean, like an NFL team would never name itself the blank football
Right.
team
That'd be
after the
absurd.
city that they play.
It was one of two things that I saw that caught my eye on social media: the Aaron Hernandez trailer and word of a Greg Maddux documentary.
I thought you were going to say the Travis Kelce show that apparently
Also
Travis
Ryan Murphy.
Kelce is going to be in. That's a Ryan Murphy. I just found out about this
I don't know
yesterday.
what this is.
There's another Ryan Murphy show called, I think it's called Grotesquerie. And it's a very Ryan Murphy show. Like, it's way more in the American Horror Story type of world where there seems to be sci-fi and religion and all these different things sort of warped into one. But Travis Kelce was cast as just a character in that show. Like, it's his acting debut doing something outside of, I think, hosting Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? They're bringing that back with him, I think.
I think he's doing Are You Smarter Than a Celebrity?
Oh, maybe it's that. So it's a knockoff of that. But essentially, like, he's clearly trying to do the stuff outside of football, and this is his first step toward acting in something serious. In doing it with Ryan Murphy makes actually a lot of sense considering like the target market that he's going for.
But did you see this trailer for the Greg Maddux documentary?
Yes.
I did not.
Oh man.
Do we have this clip? So apparently there was news of this trailer that got everybody excited because for people of my generation, and Jeremy, I'm surprised that you're a big Maddux guy because
I love Greg Maddux.
You're younger than I am, but it's a bygone era type of thing. They don't make pictures like this anymore. And Greg Maddux has this documentary, and apparently they have a back and forth with Barry Bonds.
It's
you want to set this up?
Yeah, I could set it up for you. So, and people were seeing some of the video, but we'll play it now with some audio where Barry Bonds and Greg Maddux, it's just breaking down one at bat between these two guys, two Hall of Famers. Greg Maddux, who's known as one of, if not the smartest pitcher that we've ever seen in terms of outsmarting opponents. And then Barry Bonds, who everyone knows is the smartest hitter on top of his talent. And watching the two of them break down this singular at bat, I could watch this for 2.5 hours. This is just 2 minutes.
I'll tell you when to hit play on that. I'll just have you hold it for 1 second just to make sure the camera.
98. I can't remember. I'm 60 years old. I can't remember back that far. This is when he was good.
And here comes Barry Bonds.
So, I mean, first inning, it's kind of too early to pitch around somebody, so you're going to try to get him out.
Well, Bonds chased that first pitch.
Ooh, jam, fastball. What was that, 92?
Pretty good cutter that beat him.
I could do this for the rest of my life.
That pitch.
Yep.
So he's going to try to float a changeup or some of that little floater away. Because he thinks I'm going to speed up because they jammed me.
The cutter beat him, so I thought he would speed up. I threw a changeup, and he spit on it.
Yeah, it's his changeup.
I mean, that's a pretty good changeup right there, and it was an easy take for him.
I didn't even try. I just knew it. And now we're playing chess. He knows he can't beat me inside.
Experience has taught me that he's probably looking in. Back then, I didn't know it.
And most of the time, I was always waiting for that 92 end back over the plate so I could catch him. And I'm just praying for it.
Bonds hits one high to right field and deep.
And there it goes. Can't come in the well twice, buddy. You just can't do it. And Greg knows, because I always have this saying, you cannot come in the penthouse without an invite.
I mean, that's a good pitch, believe it or not. It's an executed pitch, but obviously it's a wrong pitch to throw. That's one you got to put in the memory bank and try not to ever throw it right there again to him. I mean, he's the best in baseball, and you can't make it easy for him. That's the pitch he wants to hit, so you have to make him hit something other than that.
I think that was when I finally said, I got you now. There's nothing you can do now.
Oh man, that's great.
Spectacular.
Tell me that's the entire documentary.
That's what I want it to be. Just Greg Maddux and opposing hitters breaking down at bats.
The same score is just do.
I could watch that all
That's what I'm
day.
saying.
Men my age want one thing,
Dude.
and it's that. it's just that. Can we do this with everybody?
I
The
would
entire
love to.
Brave staff, all the great hitters. Do Will Clark next. Do Ryan Sandberg. Do Dave Magadan. I'll watch it all.
It doesn't have to be Barry Bonds.
It doesn't.
It can be Dan Ugla.
No, give me Uggs.
Rhino.
I'm not sure those embargoed thoughts on Pochettino were worth it.
I was gonna say they were like pretty mild. Like, he's not the best we could do, but maybe he is.
I think in terms of hire and
He's
name,
better than Berhalter, but we could have done better. But we actually probably couldn't.
no, it's me looking past my own bias and my own thoughts on him in the club game. There are plenty of managers that weren't great on the club side and were better suited for the international side. I sincerely hope this is one of those hires. I am rooting for him. I don't have a problem with the guy. I think he's nice. I did have a problem with Greg Berhalter. I also didn't think he was nice. So I think across the board, this is a drastic improvement, but I also think I probably should have just put it in a tweet. This could have been an email. One of the things, and this show's been all over the place, and I'm curious to hear your feedback. Please be kind at Michael Ryan Ruiz on social media.
That Keys segment really crushed.
Keys segment. In my mind, it was good.
Like
And
the
all,
Key
honestly,
West segment or the car key segment?
Both.
dude, if people heard Manu speak, this would have been an all-timer.
Both.
So feedback that I got from both this show, I've never had the show as locked in on my NASCAR talk as I had them earlier in this week because of a crazy finish that happened in the last NASCAR race that saw Austin Dillon wreck his way to a playoff berth and a victory. It happens in overtime. He got a tough break in the fact that it had to go to overtime. But Austin Dillon, while his spotter is telling him in his headsets, wreck him, F yeah, wrecks Joey Logano, who had a much better restart than him, out of the top position. And then after he does that, he clips Denny Hamlin, who was in clean on the inside, and he goes across the finish line. Austin Dillon wins this race. And it really pissed Joey Logano off. And Joey Logano, who's not the most popular driver, had a pretty good soundbite. So I want to run that sound back real quick of Joey Logano so you can see. He runs through the pit. He ends up getting penalized for his behavior, by the way, Joey Logano, because he was spinning out his tires in the pit, and he had this to say after the race.
It's chicken. There's no doubt about it. He's 4 car lengths back. Not even close. Then he wrecks the 11 to go along with it. And then he's going to go up there and thank God and praise everything with his baby. It's a bunch of BS. It's not even freaking close. I mean, dude, I get it, bump and run. I get it. I didn't back up the corner at all. He came in there and just drove through me. It's ridiculous that's the way we race. Unbelievable. I get bump and runs. I do that. I would expect it. But from 4 car lengths back, he was never going to make the corner. And then he wrecks the other car. He wrecks the 11 to go with it. So what a piece of crap.
So what's fair game moving forward? How do you race him? Next week or in the playoffs?
Wait and see.
So anyone that could watch that sequence doesn't have to know much about motorsports to say that seems a little unfair. You can just wreck guys out of the top position. Jess follows Formula One. That kind of behavior is not allowed. Someone would not be allowed to win a race if they did that.
Well, in cars, you're allowed to do that. It actually reminded me of the
Lightning McQueen cars.
Yeah, not Lightning McQueen, not him. Chick Hicks, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this put NASCAR in quite the predicament because you understand why the spotter was saying, wreck him, F yeah, because that was the only way that he could win the race and get into the playoffs. But also, you could see that and understand, well, this opens up a can of worms. Now anybody at the bottom of the standings can just be a demolition derby driver and try to wreck people out of a race without really any tact or skill. So NASCAR handed down a penalty, and it was an interesting one. All the benefits that Austin Dillon got from that win were stripped away. His playoff spot, he got points deducted, he got fined. The only thing that didn't change, and this really stunk for someone like me who had the 11 winning that race, is Austin Dillon, you get to still be the winner. You just get none of the perks. So NASCAR has effectively, on the fly, curbed this behavior, so we won't be seeing it anymore, which is a shame for like the casual guy because this looks awesome.
I'll tell you, you've talked about NASCAR quite a bit on the show over the last several months, and transparently, I've not been interested in any of it because it's not my sport.
I know.
This is the first thing. I was sitting in that room editing the show when you brought this up. I was all the way in.
Cool.
This is the first time where I'm like, this is the coolest way to end a race. The fact that this guy is wrecking because he just wants to get to the playoffs. Talk about competitive nature. I'm in on it. The idea that now they're retroactively taking all of it away, I'm I'm devastated about this, and I didn't
You're an
care.
Austin Dillon guy.
Now I am. Austin Dillon is now my NASCAR driver. Let's hope I don't find anything on like his tweets in the past. Or
Well, brother, I've been there.
That's
a Kyle
what I'm worried
Larson
about,
guy.
right? That's what I'm saying.
a Kyle Larson guy. It's hard being a Kyle Larson guy. It's hard finding that out about Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson, for those that don't know, had a controversy on a live stream during the lockdown pandemic days where he said something racist, and he spent several months thereafter apologizing for it, and actually has done really good work in the community afterwards since then in the aftermath for it. But yeah, it was
Kick,
a
save, and
life-changing.
Butte.
Not really, but he's done really good work with his foundation, and if you read his apology, it's not one of those lip service apologies. It was a good one. This is all stuff that I did to rationalize, well, I'm a Kyle Larson guy. What do I do here with this? Racing
Just say
tends to
that
have
spiel about everything he's done.
It's a lot of context to apply. I just had cafecito. Can you tell?
I just Googled Austin Dillon racist just to kind of make sure I was good. And
Did you
there
mean
was
Austin
a Reddit
Dillon
post.
Racing?
No, just racist. But the Reddit comment here is just from 7 years ago on Reddit NASCAR. Why does everyone hate Austin Dillon so much? He's not my favorite driver or anything, but I have nothing against the dude. Seems like a good driver, but I've seen it referenced many times that people hate him, and it just sounds like the Le Batard Reddit talking about me.
You know why people hate him, right?
No, I don't.
Who said piece of crap? Because I mean-
Logano.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say that's not nice.
Yeah,
that would turn me off big time.
He called
Piece
him a
of
chicken
crap.
shit earlier.
Strong words.
He called him a chicken shit earlier, and then he realized the error of his ways, and he toned it down a little bit.
Chicken shit's a great insult.
Great dude. Like 3 people
Underutilized.
called him a chicken shit after that. Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, and Logano all called him a chicken shit. I apologize if you have children listening to this show today, but that's why I
Luckily,
called him.
there are none here.
That's why I called him a piece of crap. But this is. I wanted to close that loop, that oval on NASCAR, and open up something else that I saw. The aforementioned Kyle Larson, who has a history, but is also a very talented race car driver, half Japanese. Well, not a lot of people know that about Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson. Great driver, 4 wins on the NASCAR season this year. I've talked to people that cover this sport for a living, and they told me that Kyle Larson is the best driver on the planet. And me, someone that is new to the motorsports game, my counter to that would be the natural one. Well, what about Max Verstappen? Isn't Max Verstappen the best driver on the planet? And the rebuttal to that is, if it's got wheels, Kyle Larson will win in it. Where Max Verstappen can win if he's got the best car, the best team, and it's Formula One.
When I hear them talking about who's the best driver in professional racing, it's like when I hear in golf, he's a good ball striker. It's I think they all are. And it's like in ice hockey when it's like, man, this guy's a great skater.
He can skate.
And, man, have you seen this guy? Have you seen Forsling, the way he skates? Great skate. It's just like I hear these things. It's like I don't know what a great skater looks like in hockey.
When it comes to drivers,
I mean, I've seen Forsling, and now I kind of get it because I'm like, okay, he's smooth out there. But it's like great skater, great ball, like Max Homa, great ball striker. It's like I feel like most golfers are great ball strikers.
But in hockey, Roy, you can see like Barkov, McDavid, their skating ability it's a huge edge on the ice for those guys.
Skating and puck handling.
Larson, great driver. He makes those turns, man. He can.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to pretend like I know. That's why I put it on guys like Marty Smith. I'm not going to pretend like I know what makes a good driver. But what I will say is Kyle Larson won IndyCar Rookie of the Year with his performance at the Indy 500. He made a rookie mistake at the Indy 500. He sped. This is open wheel racing, folks. He sped into the pit, got a penalty, and it undid his Indy 500.
Got to park better.
He was on the lead lap for a little bit
Where
in
do you
the
think
final.
they keep their keys?
Good question.
They've got to be pushed to start at this point.
They have to be.
What about their house keys?
But
That's a good question.
Kyle Larson has leaned into these Max Verstappen comparisons, and he gave a 10 out of 10 Southern NASCAR quote. So he's often asked about Max Verstappen. And Kyle Larson has been long rumored. Jess, it kind of feels like Andretti Racing is blackballed out of Formula One. They're trying to get into Formula One for whatever reason. They're not allowed.
There's various antitrust investigations going on about that very topic.
So the long-standing rumor, and I believe Andretti has been asked about Kyle Larson and his chops as a driver, and there's a rumor that if Andretti ever gets into Formula One, one of the drivers he would target would be Kyle Larson. So we could actually see this. Now, this is a road game for Kyle Larson, admittedly. But this is what Kyle Larson had to say about the Max Verstappen comparisons. I know in my mind I am better than him as an all-around driver. There's no way Max Verstappen can get into a sprint car and win the Knoxville Nationals. There's no way he can win the Chili Bowl. Let's pause.
What's the Chili Bowl?
I'm not sure, but I love it.
But I'm here for it.
That is great trash talk. One driver to another. There's no way he can win a cup race at Bristol. I know I'm better than him. Maybe not an open wheel IndyCar or F1, but I think I can beat him in everything else, and you can quote that. I actually do think, considering the Indy 500 experience that we saw from Kyle Larson, in which he might have won that race had he gotten some better advice and not sped into pit lane, I actually do think that if you give Kyle Larson time and a great team and the resources over time with experience, he can beat out Max Verstappen. Kyle Larson is that talented of a driver, and he lives for this stuff. He's driving those weird-looking golf carts with the wing on top of it. Kyle Larson is about racing, and it's one of the better things about the sport, just watching that guy drive, because it shows in some of these finishes.
So, I mean, Max Verstappen is like, he stays up till 4 a.m. the night before F1 races doing his sim race things, like for 24-hour races and stuff. So he's also a racing freak. Apparently the Chili Bowl is at Tulsa Expo Raceway.
Tulsa Expo Race. Yeah, I don't think Max Verstappen can win.
My favorite part of that quote, by the way, was Kyle Larson saying, "You can quote that." I like when people say something and then they're like, "You can quote that."
It's
right
like
after.
take it to the bank. It's just like a great. He doesn't mind, and I don't think Max Verstappen gives a single crap about this. I don't think he cares whatsoever. But Larson's one of those guys that in his off time, he's just doing those simulation racing, the flow racing stuff. Like
Verstappen's racing F1 in his off time when he's not doing his sim racing.
Yeah, Verstappen
feels like his
it's been a
full-time job.
weird year for Max Verstappen, and he still ended up winning the season.
I don't think I'm allowed to talk about this. I get 1 minute, and I feel like we've gone way over that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's unfortunate because I was curious to know, like, I want the Formula One season to come down to McLaren telling Lando to let Piastri win.
I don't think it's going to get that close. I think the constructors is interesting, but I think Max has the drivers.
Yeah. I would
short up.
I was always a NASCAR guy, remain a NASCAR guy, but credit to Formula One, they have really gotten better this season.
Just
it's
need a
anybody's
race called
race.
a cup of chili, and then we're set.
Welcome back, everybody. Always love when Tony Khan is on the show. He's honest, but he's also a difficult interview to pin down sometimes, and he goes heavy into promo mode. So I'm going to try to get a lot of the promotion out of the way on the front end, and I'll keep reminding people that All In on pay-per-view live from Wembley Stadium, August 25th. This was a great event. I had the pleasure of going on last year. I'm sad to see that from yesterday's announcement that the next edition of All In next year is going to be in Arlington, Texas. I'll probably be at that one. But is this the end of the Wembley run? Not at all. Tony, you wear many hats, and I could see you've already you've done interviews in this Warner Brothers Discovery hat previously, and I think you're doing that with intention, and we're glad to have you. We love our partnership with Max. Welcome aboard, Tony. Is this the final AEW show at Wembley?
No, definitely not. We love having AEW at Wembley Stadium, and we're back in 2026 in England. This year, we're going to be doing a huge event. It's coming up actually days from now. It's next weekend, August 25th on Sunday. Kind of an early start for AEW on pay-per-view since we're running over in London. We're going to start at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And again, that's next Sunday on pay-per-view. It's going to be a huge, huge event. We're calling it the Final Countdown, as it's title versus career, with Bryan Danielson, one of the greatest wrestlers ever, putting his career on the line versus the World Championship held by Swerve Strickland, and so much more. Next year, the show will be at Arlington's Globe Life Field, home of the world champion Texas Rangers. Should be a great show. Absolutely, we love doing the show in England, and we will be back in England in 2026. And you can bet you'll see us there in 2025 as well. It won't be AEW All In. It'll be something different, but we've got some big plans coming up next year as well. It's a great time for AEW. Like you said, I do wear this hat proudly, and a lot of exciting things coming for AEW.
Yeah, you've teased a big announcement coming up for AEW. A lot of people think it might have to do with the hat that you're wearing. A lot of people think it might have to do with Shane McMahon. I imagine you're enjoying keeping the people guessing. You've talked some, and you've been careful with your words, and I've heard Shane McMahon even release a statement via Busted Open a little bit. There's a crazy conspiracy out there on the internet that this leak, the call was coming from inside the house because it got people talking, and whatever conversations happened there, if a negotiation followed and whatnot, it's just great to have this stuff out there. Can you confirm or deny that the call came from inside the house here, Tony, when it came to this leaked photo of you as Shane McMahon? That was the first ever meeting between you two, yes?
That was the first time we ever met.
Hold on, I got a quick question. Is it the only time you've ever met?
Yes.
You haven't met
that is
since
the only
then?
Time we've met.
You haven't met
Not
since
since,
then?
no. It's been a very busy time since then on many, many levels. So that's the only time we've met in person. I really enjoyed talking with him. I did not place that call from inside the house, but
you would have picked a more flattering photo of yourself. Had the call if the call did indeed come from the house, you probably would have picked a better photo that didn't catch you so much by surprise. It literally looks like someone just sprung in and said, "Hey, I'm leaking this on the internet."
I mean, nobody said anything, but somebody did just pop in, and it was kind of weird.
Do you want to reveal who took the photo? There have been certain people taking credit for this all over the internet. Can you reveal who is behind that photo?
I think somebody who works at the airport. But
Really? So someone that worked at the airport just kicked a door down, barged in, took a photo of this meeting of two huge wrestling personalities and just posted it?
I mean, we were just talking in the airport lounge, having a really nice chat as the photo kind of evidence. And somebody just walked in kind of like they were on their phone and, oops, sorry, and then walked away. I think that's probably what it was. It wasn't like that slick. But also, it's not like a top secret thing. I just wanted to have a nice conversation with him. I've heard a lot of nice things about him. We have a bunch of mutual friends, and we were both in Dallas. They said, you guys should meet up. So we met up at the airport, and it was a nice talk. And I thought he's a very respectful and respectable person, and somebody I really enjoyed talking to.
Well, a lot of people are having their minds wander into really fun and creative places. And so we'll leave the Shane McMahon talk there. I do want to talk to you about a very exciting time for one of your other jobs, sporting director over at Fulham. By the way, credit on those Fulham kits that I saw with the AEW sponsorship. That's a great corporate synergy there. But you guys won last year at Old Trafford. You're kicking off the season today against Manchester United. You won there for the first time in 20 years. What are your hopes, expectations? Naturally, Fulham had previously been a bit of a yo-yo club. You guys stayed up now, so what is the move here for Fulham? You guys have a big fancy stadium. Did I read correctly that you're putting a jacuzzi out? You have a club lounge where you're going to put a jacuzzi out in London in December? I'm not really sure. Are you actually doing that? Is that confirmed?
Well, I'm the sporting director, so I don't spend as much time on that aspect of it, but I do think that we're going to have really great hospitality in the Riverside Stand, and the new Craven Cottage is going to be one of the most fun places to be in all of football, in all of the world. I think it's going to be really, really great for the fans, and it's something people have been looking forward to for a long time, finishing all the developments at Craven Cottage, which is one of the most classic, beautiful stadiums in all of English football. And right now, we're in an exciting place with Fulham. Like you said, we stayed up last year. We're looking forward to a great Premier League season that kicks off hours from now today. We're really excited about it. We've had some exciting new players come in. We have a great coach. There's a lot of really great things happening at the club right now, and excited about the season starting tonight.
I'm curious your thoughts. I assume you support the U.S. soccer program. I'm curious to know your thoughts on the hire of Pochettino as a head man now for the U.S. men's national team. Obviously, a big name on the club soccer side. You've had teams line up against him, and you've had varying degrees of success against Pochettino-led teams. I'm curious. I like the message that it sends to the fans because it's a big, splashy hire, and I think it presents a pretty clear upgrade. I was curious if you had any thoughts on the U.S. national team hire.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting. It's great news for the U.S. team, and for Fulham, it's very relevant because traditionally there have been Fulham players on the U.S. team. As long as I've been here, we've always had involvement from Fulham in the U.S. team. And for people who don't know, about half the goals, I think exactly half the goals that have been scored in the history of the Premier League by American players, half of them have been by Fulham alone. We have a great tradition of American players. A number of Americans have gone to Fulham and won Player of the Season. And that includes now our reigning player of the season, Anthony Robinson, Jedi. And Jedi is a big part of the U.S. national team. He's a top player for Fulham and the U.S. So definitely we have a lot of good common ground with Fulham and U.S. football. Really, really excited about that appointment. And I think that'll be great for the U.S. team.
All right, I'm going to ask you to put your Warner Brothers Discovery hat back on now that we had the Fulham hat on previously. Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley was in the news. Turner loses the NBA rights. It's going to be their final season with it. And it was announced that no matter what, Charles Barkley is going to stay with Turner. Now, that's great. A crazy, once-in-a-lifetime unicorn personality, but they may not have NBA rights. So there were plenty of people wondering. He's done stuff on their NHL coverage before, and he's been plenty good at that. They have some other properties, though. Is there a world in which Charles Barkley finds his way over to AEW programming?
I don't know. It's a great question. Charles Barkley is a wrestling fan, I think.
Yeah, huge fan.
We presented the Inside the NBA team with AEW championship belts, and he was great and very gracious. We've worked with Shaq, and Shaq is one of the greatest human beings I've ever met or worked with in my entire life. I know that Shaq has been great to AEW. I don't know exactly what the future of the NBA holds, but, you know, Charles Barkley, as far as being one of the top hosts in all of sports, as far as being one of the most entertaining people on all of television, I think he adds to any sport he's involved in. So if he wanted to come to AEW, we would love that. And absolutely, I would encourage that and support that.
You mentioned the Shaq thing, and there's an open loop when it comes to Shaq's appearance on AEW that's always kind of bothered me. He was on a stretcher, and he just disappeared. He disappeared, and no one really knew where Shaq went. It was like all of a sudden he became The Undertaker. He had these mystical powers. Can you close the loop? What happened to Shaq?
I don't think it serves us well to close the loop, because I think that Shaq wanted to leave it open-ended for him to come back. And he saw that being a really good cliffhanger to his return. And I think he's right, because people are still talking about it, and it's been 3.5 years. And I think what he was going for clearly worked, because he wanted a cliffhanger that leads to his return. And when Shaq's ready to wrestle again, that will be a perfect entry point for him to return to the world of professional wrestling that I know he enjoys very much. And we loved having Shaq in AEW so much.
All right, I got a ton of questions, so I'm going to try to tighten them up so I can fit in as much as I can here. Hologram. This was different, and I read reports, correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, because I want to make sure I had this right, that this was a character that was in development for a long time before you even casted the performer for it, and the presentation's really cool, and it kind of harkened back to a bygone era in which you see occasionally on these old IG accounts like sketch work of like what Kane would look like, and they had conceived these characters and before they even casted the performer. That's not really something that AEW had done much of. How's your experience with this character gone? I think the reception's been good to it, and I kind of want to see more of this. Build out a character first. It would be great if it's a character that can actually do character work and talk a little bit on the mic a little bit. We'll see if that's in the cards for Hologram too, but if your experience with it has been as good as what it appears to be the audience seems to be in pretty good consensus with, are you going to be doing more of that, creating characters and then casting the performer afterwards?
Well, I'm glad there's been great reception, and I'm glad that you're enjoying it, Mike. It's been really exciting for us to have a top young luchador, a top young wrestler from Mexico come here and be so well received. The character of Hologram, the idea of it, is something that I had thought of many years ago. And I thought this would be a really, really exciting presentation for a young luchador. And when we started AEW, this was one of my original ideas. And fittingly, the luchador that we interviewed to play Hologram is Hologram. We brought him in when he was a teenager 4.5 years ago. And it was right before the lockdown, right before we started doing all the shows in Jacksonville during the pandemic. And he got locked down in Mexico. He wasn't able to travel up here for a long time. And then I thought about it, and I really wanted to still bring Hologram in, and he was available. So I thought it would be awesome to develop this character. And I think that he's totally capable of being a big star in AEW. And so far, the reception for Hologram in AEW has been fantastic. And I think it bodes well for him and hopefully more new, exciting young stars.
I imagine that's a rewarding experience, so it worked, because you conceptualize a character where a lot of the free agent signings, they'd been performing under other names, or they came from the indies and they had kind of set characters. Are you anticipating that, considering your experience with this, it's something that you're probably going to be doing more of in AEW, creating original characters?
It's a great question, Mike. I think it has to be something that really works, and that's why this has clicked so well. I think it has to be a really strong idea. And in this case, I felt like this was a great idea that I wanted to do for a long time. And I think the fans really like it too. So it does feel great. But I'm always happy whenever the fans pop, whenever the fans are happy about something, it makes me happy. And right now there's a lot of good stuff going on in AEW. We were the #1 show on cable on Wednesday night for Wednesday Night Dynamite on TBS this week. And anytime we rack up the #1 spot, it's a very good thing for us, especially with all the things happening right now. That's excellent timing for us for many reasons. And Hologram, in particular, is one of the young stars the fans are really clicking with right now. Hologram's mostly been wrestling on our Collision shows, Saturdays on TNT. We recently, on our Wednesday night show, Dynamite on TBS, our flagship show, recapped his progress. For some of the fans who hadn't seen him on Collision, they got to look at him. And he's definitely somebody we want the fans to keep an eye on, because I think he can be a great young star for AEW.
All right, rapid fire here. 10 seconds or less on the answers. Doing a show at the Sphere. Dead & Company, I know you like Dead & Company. They wrapped up a residency at the Sphere. Have you talked to the Sphere about possibly doing any shows?
Through my management company, Activist Artist Management, like you said, we represent the Grateful Dead, the Dead & Co., great artists. have had some conversations about that, but I think it's a long, long way away. There's a long line to get into the sphere.
All right. That was actually close to 10 seconds over there. Guardian caps in the NFL. They aren't the most fashionable thing, but I imagine you have data, and I've seen reports that it actually does prevent head injuries. It's been approved for game use. There haven't been many players, Jonathan Taylor, like the first star player that tried this out in a preseason game. What is your data telling you, and do you think that there might be a day in the NFL where this is more normalized and pretty much part of the new standard uniform?
Well, I can't speak to whether it'll become part of the standard or normalized, but I do think it is definitely more safe. All the data speaks to that. My father's on the health and safety committee of the NFL, and in the ownership meetings, there's been a ton of data presented on this that says the Guardian cap really makes a difference and is safe.
Is a Super Bowl ever going to come back to Jacksonville? Full disclosure, I'm now a Legacy Media member, and people didn't have the greatest experience with the first Jacksonville Super Bowl experience, citing infrastructure and the venue itself. But you're pumping a lot of money into this area. Are you eyeing another Super Bowl?
Well, that was 20 years ago, and a lot can change in 20 years. It'll be well over 20 years that's passed since that Super Bowl by the time the Stadium of the Future is constructed, and we're all really excited in Jacksonville about the Stadium of the Future. So I think that future is yet to be unwritten.
You've been on the record, and you can take 15 seconds.
It's yet to be written.
Yeah, it didn't make sense.
It's yet to be written. If it's unwritten. It's unwritten now. It's yet to be written.
I like that Natasha Bedingfield song.
No,
so
you know what I was trying to do.
Yeah, we all get there. It's words. It's hard. So, Tony, I want to ask you about tampering. You can take 15 seconds for this. You've been pretty feisty on the record when it comes to WWE reaching out to contracted talent. There's all sorts of rumors out there about contracted talent presently flirting with WWE. Look, the sausage gets made in several unique ways in wrestling, but do you think, since you've gone on record trying to check WWE on some of this tampering stuff, it's gotten better or there's been no change?
That's a fascinating way to phrase the question.
Well, because I imagine you did it with intention. Like, you were a very thoughtful dude. So, like, you putting it on the record, like, stop tampering with my guys, you're sending a clear message. I'm wondering if it worked out.
I don't think that it has. I think that it's still happening. And I will reserve all rights when it comes to that, but I don't think that it's stopped. And I'll leave it at that if it's okay, but I think that'll get people talking where you probably accomplished what you were trying to do, Mike.
Yeah. I gotta always have one clip that goes a little viral. I tried it with Barkley. I'm not sure I quite got it there, but I think I got it with that one. That, or maybe 2 minutes too long on the hologram character. Maybe that one will go viral. We'll see. That was like my nerdy. I'm allowed one nerdy question, Tony. All right. Well, best of luck in the Premier League season. Best of luck in the NFL season. Best of luck with All In. Man, you're doing probably too much. Do you binge watch shows? That's a question for another day. Tony Khan, thank you so much. All In, pay-per-view, August 25th. It's always going to be a great show. And if it is indeed the final match for the American Dragon, no one does send-offs quite like AEW. They knocked it out of the park with Sting, so I imagine he'll meet the moment. Tony, thank you for your time.
Bless you, Mike. Great to see you. Thanks for having us on today.